Hi, and welcome to the DIY Photo Organising podcast, focusing on topics to help you with your photo management. I'm Fiona from Photo Helper.
And I'm Chantal from Photos in Order. Hello, Fiona.
Hello, Chantal.
Have you all packed? Are you ready?
I know I am leaving to go on a little vacation with my gorgeous husband. No, not packed yet.
Me neither. So, lovely listeners, we're both going away for a few weeks, basically, and we've decided to have a bit of a break, So, just to let you know, we will not forget about you, and we will be back for you in July with heaps of new episodes to come, exciting topics. And yeah, we'll see you again in July. But before then, we have that one last episode here today for you, and we're going to talk about sorting printed photos, because again, these are questions that come again and again from listeners, because, as it is, pretty much everyone still has printed photos, even young people. You might have inherited them, or most people really do have them. And a lot of them struggle when it comes to sorting them. And today we're going to share 5 tips about sorting prints.
Fabulous. Exactly. So let's jump in. Oh, before we do, we thought also, while we are having a little bit of a break, if you have some questions and things along the way, just jump into the show notes or on our website, on this link on this page that you're listening through, or if you're listening through Spotify or Apple or any of the other platforms, in the show notes there's a link to a wish list. So if there's something that you would like us to answer, we would love to do that on upcoming episodes. All right, 5 tips. So printed photos. The first one is the way you sort the photos. Now, opposite to what you might expect is looking at the front of the photo. We are going to say, and strongly recommend you do this, flip all of your photos over and sort blind, so to speak. So we want you to be able to sort without thinking too much into this sorting process in this very first step of sorting. So what you do is you literally get all of your printed photos. The first thing is sort by size. So get all of your 4x6s or 3x5s or 5x7s or whatever sizes you've got. And flip them over, because the back of the photo can give you amazing amounts of information, and you'll start to naturally group like photos together. So one of the things that is on the back of the photo that will naturally cause this grouping to occur is the stock of the photo that it was printed on. So this will give you information, like if it was a Kodak or a Fuji or whatever material and company that printed it, you obviously would have got those groups printed at the same time. Mm-hmm. It's a really, really great way to start sorting, isn't it, Chantal?
It is. I just used it with a client the other day, and it was amazing. It's a little bit like magic, to be honest. The one was by size, and we had photos going back to the 60s, 70s, 80s, and there were phases where we all had the square photos with the rounded corners, and then there were square photos with pointy corners. So looking only at the back and the size, it was so quick to sort them into those batches, and automatically, they belong together. They're not yet, they might not be 100% chronologically sorted, but they from the same era, and that's so valuable. And it was so quick and easy. It was like, whoa, that's awesome. And another example, if I may share, that is also from another client, where they had their photos in albums and wanted them to I had to take them apart for them to scan them and so on. So as I did that, I discovered that in more than one trip, the same trip was actually distributed over 3 different albums.
Yeah.
And so it was all over the shop, and within those batches in the 3 different albums, it was not sort of in any chronological way. I could quickly see, you know, looking at the photos, oh, I've just seen that mountain on that picture. This looks that's the same thing. They must have been standing the same place when I took the photo, but they totally out of order. So I did exactly what you said. I turned it all around and I saw that they actually have a stamp on the back, and I was lucky because they were like from the 90s. And so they actually did have a sequential number, and I was able to put everything back into the chronological order. And for us as a photo organizer, you know, that's yay.
It always feels so
that's
good.
gold. Some people don't mind if it's not exact, but you know, if I can.
Exactly. Yep. If you can, you can. Exactly. And one of the things I would say is this first tip of sort is if you flip all the photos over and then just do the first sort of go through in big groups. So what I would say is just the material on the back, just those, if it's got a company printed name on the stock that they're using, just do that first. So you might end up with 10 piles.
Correct.
And you've got some that, you've got a pile that have nothing on them. Then you've got a pile that have a gold written Kodak, and then you might have a pile that have a black written Kodak, right? So you're in your big groups first.
Yeah.
Then pick that one group and then start by what that gold written Kodak is, because sometimes they might have, different types of stock, or they've all got one, batch print on it, or you see they're all in a batch with a number print on it or something like that. So again, find your natural organizing piles within the big pile, and then group down from there. And it's really interesting how, you can see, and those numbers don't mean, we're not trying to say look into what they mean, because often those numbers are actually meaning what colors that they've used, how much of different colors that they've used in the stock on the print.
Yes.
And unfortunately, they just didn't have the wherewithal to think, wouldn't it be good in years to come if we actually printed the year? Some of them did occasionally, but that is not common. So don't worry too much about that. But there are a lot of clues in the back of those numbers, because they would be consistent at the time of the printing. And so at least you can gather then that roll of film, or that sort of year spread or something like that.
Yeah, and it's so interesting. Here in Australia, Sydney hosted the Olympic Games in 2000, and you can see that, a few years before then, it started to be on the Kodak prints because they were sponsoring the games. So you can see the Kodak with the Olympic rings, and you know exactly, okay, that's around that time these photos were taken. You can tell.
Yeah.
And it wasn't later than 2000 because they would have not used that paper anymore to print photos on. So it's, over time.
Yes.
You play detective a little bit. It's
good. It's good. So with this tip of sort, I think the other thing we just want to mention is it takes away the sort of that urge you might have to sort by person. And while it's lovely to have all of one person together, it's obviously not realistic, because the one person is in a photo with other people. And so very quickly, if you have more than one child, it's, which pile do you put the photo in if you've got, your kids all together in one photo? So doing it this way will just sort of allow you to take a step back and start to get some natural organizing structure to this process of organizing printed photos. And that's just helpful, I think, to actually move this project along.
Yeah, always, isn't it?
Mm.
There are a couple of exceptions maybe to worth mentioning. For example, if you have all the photos, it might make sense to sort by family branch.
Yep.
Not so much by person, but by branch. That's what I did with my personal family photos. We would have a branch from mom's side and a branch from dad's side. And that's in, in the wider context, you could say it's by person, but it's not really. And in that case, it made sense up to a certain point. Often that would be when two people meet or when they get married, and then it sort of merges into one.
Absolutely. And I think that's a logical way that usually we inherit photos. So we'll inherit a family album from, one side of the family, and then, if somebody else is the family keeper of the other side of the family, before those families merged. So it is quite a logical pre-organizing sort of a process that some people will inherit that group of family photos. Or if you've got them all and they are all mixed up, then it's definitely a nice way to look at those older photos.
Yeah. Also, a thing we wanted to mention is that in that whole sorting process, obviously this can take quite some time, but also to keep in mind that it will take several rounds of sorting usually, because you keep finding photos and you might add them to a pile and then later on go through that pile again once you have gathered everything that belongs to it, and do some fine tuning, which means, you might throw out some photos or you might regroup them in other ways or whatever. So it's not a one touch thing and then it's done. You will touch them more than once.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. So our first one is sort by the back.
Yes.
That's our tip number one. Sort by the back of the photo. What's our second tip here?
Okay, the second one is about bundling. What I just mentioned, you end up when you're sorting, you have those piles or bundles, like be it regardless of whether you sort by time or topic or whatever, you have little bundles. So we just want to let you know, please don't use paper clips or rubber bands. They're not good for your photos, especially not long terms, but even short term, you shouldn't be using that. What we recommend instead, what you can use, what is safe to use, is Ziploc bags, can be very handy, or also envelopes. And as a temporary measure and sorting way of sorting, you can use normal envelopes. You don't need to get the archival ones necessarily to start with. That would come into play a bit later, but for the sorting process, that's absolutely okay.
Yep. Wonderful. All right. Tip number 3 is, it's got to do with labeling. So when you're going through this process, we recommend strongly, I mean, we cannot emphasize this strong enough, do not write on the back of your photo with any kind of a ink Sharpie that is going to leak onto another photo. And sadly, this is something that happens. And back in the day, that's what they did. That was their metadata, so to speak. They wrote on the back of photos. So many times when I'm scanning, I see great bits of information that's on the back of a photo, and it's really helpful. And it seems like a logical way to keep the information with the photo. Really, please be mindful that this is dangerous to damage other photos. So no Sharpies. We recommend using index cards. If you're putting them in little envelopes, as you're sorting and you're grouping photos along the way, you can write on the outside of the envelope, but not with something that's going to leak through onto a photo. So just be really mindful of that. So just using a soft pencil if you are writing on the back of a photo. But primarily, we really recommend just grab yourself some small index cards and just go for writing as much information as you want about that group of photos. And there's no sort of limit. Like, I'm not saying have an index card per photo, but obviously when you get your groups of photos, you might have 10 photos that are together. Just write a little list, what's on it, who they are, where you were, what's important, some dates if you know them, and pop that at the front, and then get to your next one, grab another index card, and you can logically start to see some order coming through there. So make sure with your labeling, grab yourself some index cards, and if you are going to write on the back of a photo, please use a archival safe, pencil if you can, but any soft regular pencil is okay.
Yeah, very good. So next up, our fourth tip is to identify special photos. So what do we mean by that? Oftentimes when people sort their printed photos, they do that because they want to at least scan some of them, if not all. Now, if you're sorting and culling with the aim to have everything scanned, it's very easy, of course. You don't need to do anything further than, sorting them, bundle them, use those index cards, put them in boxes, stand them up, have them vertical, standing in the boxes, and you're done. But if you only want to scan some of them, what we would say then, it depends a little bit how many you end up wanting to have scanned. If, let's say, you have a shoebox that takes approximately 1,200 photos, and let's say you want to have scanned 50 of those 1,200 photos, the easiest way probably is to simply rotate the photos that you want to have scanned so that they stick up like the index cards, and you can see straight away where they are, and you can pull them out, scan them, and even put them straight back so that they still are where they belong in the bigger context. That's one way. Another way could be that you stick a post-it to the back of the photo and it sticks out when you look at that box. Or some people prefer to turn them around. So, when you've got them vertically in a box and you look into that box, you would see the image. And some people choose to turn that photo around so you would see the back of the photo, and that's the one that is scanned or has been scanned. Some choose to store them that way once they have been scanned to still know which one was digitized.
Yep, absolutely. I think it's great. And if you're taking them out to give to someone to scan, just put a little placeholder. If you've already done that organizing, just put a little, if just say you've got 20 photos, you can just put 1 to 20 on the back of the photo with a little sticky note, and then give it to the person to have scanned, and then in your index placeholder you have a little index sticking up saying number 1, and then you have another index sticking up saying number 2. So you've got your 20 spots that you can just put the photo back in, if you need to do it that way. It's another way to do it.
You want to share our last tip?
All right, so our tip number 5 is very important. Don't overthink it. We're all about getting the job done, encouraging you, motivating you to, do special projects, get your photos organized, do the things you want to do, have your why clear front and center, and move forward with what it is that you really want to do with your photos. So don't overthink this process with organizing your printed photos. And there's lots of different steps you can take along the way and just do one part of it. And so the first step you might do is just take all of your photos out of your photo albums, if that's your end goal, because they're in those magnetic ones, and put them in a big pile. That could be it. Don't overthink it. Just take them out. Or one album, one night, take it out, and then do the next one. And then do another step. Sort by grouping or something like that. But let's not overthink. We have to have it all the years organized and have it all looking beautiful and in the exact order. So there's lots of different ways you can do this. Just grab yourself some boxes, some shoe boxes, and they don't have to be archival. If you listened to our podcast from last week with Kate, temporary storage is absolutely fine for this process. So yeah, number 5, don't overthink it.
and also when you come across photos that you're not sure on which piles they should go, regardless of whether you sort chronologically or by topic, if you're not sure, don't, again, overthink it. Have a box ready for uncertain or unsure, or however you want to call it, just for those question marks ones. Put them in there, and at the very end, once you've sorted everything, oftentimes when you then go back to that box, you will have the answer by then, and you will know what to do with them, and you can put them in the, onto a pile where they belong. And yeah, just don't try to play detective and try and find out desperately, was that photo taken in 1980 or 82? It doesn't really matter. But if you want to be certain, put it in that box and deal with it later, because you will most probably have found similar photos and you will know where it belongs. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. So there are a few courses actually through on our courses page that we thought we might just bring your attention to if you're interested in learning more about this. There's 3 brilliant courses specifically in this area that relate to printed photos. So one of them is called the Easy Index Scanning Workflow, which is on Adam Pratt's website. And that one is brilliant it's very detailed, lots of great information, very step by step as to how this indexing works in a more specific way. And so we thought that if this is something that you're wanting to get into more detail about and, really learn, and you're taking on this project in a for yourself and you're doing scanning, then it really does the scanning part of it, but then the organizing workflow as to how to organize your photos. And then there's some magic at the end that happens digitally with this scanning workflow, which is just beautiful, and it all just falls into place, even if you've got different piles and batches across your shoeboxes. So that's a great one.
And we've got 2 other ones also about the same topic, which is Organising Old Photos by Miss Freddie. That one is Casey. And also by the photo managers, they offer the course Printed Photo Organising Made Easy. I mean, that says it all, doesn't it?
It does.
So definitely, as you can see from the offering of courses, you're not the only one if you struggle with the sorting of printed photos. And there is help out there if you want some more guidance for that process.
Yeah. And just also another one, if you do want help, the photo managers have a great search feature on their website to try and find a photo organizer in your area, because this is something with digital organizing. You can get some help from anyone around the world, but sometimes with the printed stuff, if you need someone to actually come in and sit with you and go through this process, there's some fabulous photo organizers. And just have a look on their website. You can sort by country or state and specific details like that, so you might find someone in your local area that can help you.
And we'll put all the links in the show notes, of course, as always. And I think that was it for today. Short and sweet.
Absolutely.
So as we mentioned at the start, we're gonna see you, well, we're not seeing you, do we? But we're gonna be back in July, and until then we really encourage you to leave your wishes on our wish list so that we've got plenty of questions to answer when we come back. And as always, leave feedback or get in touch via the socials or just email us. Check out the course page. So yeah, you know it by now. And you'll find all the links in the show notes as always. Is there anything else, Fiona?
I think that's it. Have a wonderful trip with your family and your mum overseas, and I'm sure you'll have a fabulous time, Chantal. So we'll look forward to hearing about your photos. I'll be interested to see how many photos you're adding to your collection when you come back.
Oh, don't. Oh, no.
I know I'm going to be adding a lot to mine.
And I wish you the same. It will be so exciting to meet your new grandchild.
I know. Oh, we're just so looking forward to it. It's going to be great. It'll be great. So that's from us. Thanks again for joining us. It's always a pleasure. We just love doing these podcast episodes, and we really hope that you enjoy learning new things, getting some inspiration for yourself and your own projects. So thanks for joining us. I'm Fiona from Photo Helper.
And I'm Chantal from Photos in Order. Thanks for tuning in as always, and happy photo organising till we're back in July. See you.
Bye for now.